Good evening, viewers.
Is
The central government is set to review the national policy for skill development and entrepreneurship. This policy is being taken with the aim to deliver improved productivity to match the international standards. On the occasion of World Skill Day, we have with us three eminent guests from the world of skilling who will be discussing why skill development has become an essential today and how the low standards of skilling continues to plague the industry's demand for skilled manpower. Our panelists for today are Arjun Pratap, who is the CEO and founder of Edge, which is an innovative artificial intelligence driven HR technology solutions provider. Rohit Ghosh, founder of Skill Edge, who believes and executes job specific skill training to job seekers and job creators. And finally, we have Shubham Mahajan, who's the CEO of Cubic Online, which is an edutech platform working for the youth of the country. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, the more we give importance to skill development, the more competent our youth will be. So, gentlemen, I would like to know what are your views on skill development? We'll start with you, Arjun.
one of the few companies that have been funded on a technology side from the National Skill Development Corporation, the NSDC, way back in 2013. And that was pretty much the seed funding that we got to build our business. So thanks to the skilling movement, the government to have the foresight to invest in innovation and technology to move the needle. So I think we've benefited from that, effort. So I think I've seen it up close and personally. We are a company called Edge. We are based out of Bangalore. We have a US subsidiary. We look at talent supply chain as an opportunity to ensure that companies can look at investing in their talent by empowering, enabling them, right? And through making sure that we can simplify all the talent decisions that exist through automation and technology, right? Through intelligence. We've seen this through and through over the last 8 years, and we've seen what it means to build a company that's ripe with science, that looks at value creation, and obviously is looking at finally being the career guide or the advisor, career advisor to every individual on the planet. That's our thesis, that's our mantra. We're looking at doing this for every individual across the globe. But we're doing it in a differentiated manner because we're looking at companies and look at the demand side. Companies employ people, and companies are now going through a shift in terms of who they should hire, why they should hire, because of the fourth industrial revolution, AI, right? Jobs are changing, business models are pivoting, things are literally turning on their top. So I think there's a huge shift in terms of people understanding what kind of value they can continue to create as a business that was 100 years old or 20 years old. It doesn't make a difference, right? I think what we have been presented with is an opportunity through AI and automation to be a part of the solution and solve the talent pillar or the people pillar for a lot of these companies across the globe. So we have close to 10% of India's IT services population on our platform. We have a few banks, we have a few automotive companies, and we're doing some amazing stuff just in the skilling spectrum. That's reskilling, cross-skilling, and upskilling through automation with an integrated, effort, meaning that it's development of a platform so you can build around creating an ecosystem for skilling. And that's, I think, of paramount importance. The NSDC, I think, was looking at the average age of the population, at least the Indian population, being the youngest in the world, right? We have a demographic dividend. I think we have an average age of 19, in 2022, which is the youngest. So how do we unleash that power to the rest of the world? Because you have young minds who are looking for amazing things to do. And we are part of the technology journey of skilling. So that's who we are, and glad to be here. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be a part of this panel.
Rohit, when I was going through your website, I learned that your company is doing academic based skilling. Can you tell something about that? Like how you're going about it?
Skilling is all about knowledge multiplied by practice. And that is where you end up doing skilling, right? You need to have a knowledge, then you practice that knowledge for a sustained period. and you need to have a feedback. So these are very important aspects, right? So you have the knowledge, you have the practice, then you have the feedback, and then once you have the feedback, you can measure it, and so that you can, work on that and develop somebody's skill, whether it's a vocational training, whether it's a white collar space skilling, or whether it's a hobby. That's how we develop our skill. Now, when you talk about the academic based skilling, and that's what we specialize in, we are India's first EdTech platform to prepare tier 2, tier 3 students on techno-commercial role in 20 weeks, since that's what we do. Now, in doing so, the first point or parameter is knowledge, and that knowledge is academic based. So we have certain syllabus, right? We have a syllabus across different universities. But what exactly you have to study in order to be day one job ready and in order to be ready for the industry is something YouTubes of the world can't tell you. And that is where the academic based skilling comes, where what the industry needs, exactly that much, can be mapped back to your syllabus, what is there, and you can be trained for that with proper practice, with proper mentoring, and so on and so forth. So the academic based skilling is, there is a skill, but that skill has to be mapped back to your syllabus of that particular portion, which is required in the industry for you to become day one job ready.
Okay, so do you have students who are enrolling for this academic based skilling? And
Yeah,
what are your views? Like, what are the parents saying about this particular
sure.
program?
Yes, we are. We have more than 700 plus students in our platform as far as doing these 5 courses that we run. We have more than 2.5 lakh students visiting our platform. One week earlier, we launched our app. So we are a live online plus app-based learning with a lot of AI features in that app. Having said that, as far as the parents are concerned, what happens is typically the parents are involved in a K-12 segment. Typically, the segment that we are in, which is post K-12, which is the college to job segment, the parents come at when there is a point of giving the money, and the answer and the question is, do my son or daughter will get the job? As simple as that, right? Because that doesn't happen in a college, unfortunately, because it is assumed that college is a placement agency, which is not true at the end of the day, right? So as far as your question is concerned, we do interact with the parents. The parents are happy with the fact that 2 things. One, with this digital economy and COVID, the parents are seeing that my kid is not sitting in front of the laptop and doing nothing and not browsing the web series. They are at least listening to somebody, and which is adding value to his or her mindset for that particular job role. I think that's what the feedback we always get. And the second is, जो कॉलेज में पढ़ाई नहीं हो रही है, एटलीस्ट कहीं तो पढ़ाई हो रही है.
Okay, so Shubham, how has your experience been with the awareness about skilling among students? You being an edutech platform as well.
So, taking ahead from what Mr. Rohit just said, exactly the point. Colleges should not be treated as a placement agency. I mean, that's the big issue, and that's the big void in the country that is there. And that's why we have such a large drain, a large population of us going to US, UK to, get their preferred jobs or their domains over there. So one thing that we especially are engaged in is like upskilling the edtech community. So there's a large unorganized sector in the country. So what do we mean by this unorganized sector? So basically the local tutors. So what happens is, let's say 100 years ago, education was just between a tutor and a child and a student, right? There was nothing in between that. 100 years later, in the starting of your 20th century, it's all about a management system in between the tutor and the student. This management system plays a vital role. And now what happens is that there has to be an edtech system also included. Post-pandemic, we all have realized that. So can you just imagine, there are just 3 or 4 edtechs that get, named in the country again and again, that this was there, but there are many. And there are many unorganized sectors who want to, reach out to their students in their local areas or even out of their horizons, but they're not able to have that sort of technology or that sort of process for that. So basically, with respect to, I'll start with the respect to this unorganized sector, that we realize that yes, upskilling is helping them. Upskillment is helping them to reach out to the number of students that they never imagined. For example, last to last month, we had connected with one of the tutor from Patna. So he said, so we are having only 50 students right now. Can you give us your LMS system and how to go about the ERP and everything and all the solutions? And I'll just give my academic support to the students. Can you help me out with that? Now he has more than 750 students in 2 months, which is, I mean, almost 5 times, 6 times of what he was seeing all year round. And that is how we are talking, and we are trying to reach out to at least 10,000 local tutors every month. This is with respect to the tutors and the local teachers that are there. But with respect to students, definitely upskillment is something that is necessary. And I think the feedback that we get from the parents, they do not want the regular monotonous curriculum from us right now. They want us to go out of the box, and they want their children to figure out what they are actually interested in and what they like doing. So that trend that was there, that either my son's going to be an engineer, or my son's going to be an IT engineer, or a doctor, that's it, or a CA. There's no other options available. It's getting eradicated slowly and steadily as we're giving exposure to the students. And skill plays a very important part in bringing exposure to this thing. So we usually whoever gets connected with us, we usually tell them in the first session that skill can be identified if you tap on if you go on tapping on things and try other things. So it's like will has a skill here. This is what we go ahead with the students or the community that connects with us.
And Arjun, you also mentioned that your company got recognized by NSDC, right? So how has that helped, and how has that changed the way you were skilling, and now how do you do it?
So yeah, I'll tell you, we started this company in 2012, and at that time there were far and few funds who would really give you seed funds. There were angel investors who did not know technology or technology businesses and initiatives that used or leveraged intelligence, because they came from the real estate space, or they came from the pharmaceutical space, and they had money and they were ready to give it out, but they really didn't understand. So it's very disorganized in terms of the money available. The NSDC brought in a scheme that allowed innovation to be cultivated, and the NSDC gave us a grant and they gave us debt at 6%, right? So we didn't need to dilute a company or the structure of the company, the cap structure of the company, to be able to raise the money and build the company, right? And then we got institutional investment in the form of Kalari as our lead investor. We have Xfinity and Venture East as co-investors, who are very, very valuable, solid investors coming in to demonstrate how powerful these initiatives can be. But the NSDC just did that. They took a company which was just a concept. They talked to potential customers of ours at that point who did not sign on a piece of paper, and they funded us because we seemed real to them. Yeah, so that's what they did.
Rohit, you were talking about skilling. So skilling is essential, I agree. But do you feel that the youth is applying it? Are they really applying the skills that they've learned?
It's an interesting question. Having taught more than 10 lakh students in India and helped them achieve their dream B schools and jobs, I must tell, every youth is capable of doing many wonderful things. There is no statement that bacche aise hi hote hain. It's the ecosystem. So it's at the end of the day, it's an ecosystem, and I'm a teacher by heart and entrepreneur by choice, and I can tell you that are youth applying the skills? The answer is yes, but where they are applying is the question, right? When you spoke about YouTube, now why you go to the YouTube is the question. So fundamentally the question is why. Now we go to the YouTube. If you go to YouTube for skilling, then you are at the wrong place. You go to YouTube for awareness. Now once you are aware, then I told you, right, the awareness is equal to knowledge at a certain level. Then you have to practice it. Once you practice this, you need to have a mentor to tell you that you are doing right, you are doing wrong. You have to measure it. So coming back to the point, are youth applying the skills? First of all, I believe applying is the second step. First is, are they getting the awareness, what is required at the end of the day to become 21st century digital skill ready? When Coursera says that India is at the 67th index as far as the skilling is concerned, there is a question mark at certain level. Now that ranking can be debatable, and I'm sure about it, because India being 1.3 billion, at one end we have the IIMs and IITs, at the other end we have absolute skillful youth, but the degree is not maybe no fancy degree, right? So we have those wide spectrum of things happening across. So my point over there is application is secondary. First question is, are the youth of India, the real Bharat, youth of real Bharat, as we say, not the 10% of the IITs and the IIMs, the youth of real Bharat, are they aware of what is required to become new age job ready? New age. The regular trends are shifting. We still get 80% of the people doing a regular job, which is okay, but you got to realize that that's not career. So there is a fundamental shift from the mindset that do I need a job or do I build my career, right? So the point which COVID has done with the digital transformation, we have to say we want to build a career. Job is an automatic effect of it, right? So I think that's a kind of, I've given a bit of kind of elaborative answer to your question. Yes, the youth are applying, those who are aware of it. So important is to make sure the youth are aware of the skill, and eventually they will definitely apply. I think that's the point.
So, Rohit, how is your company creating this awareness among the youth? Because they are going to be the next gen.
Various ways. We fundamentally use 4 different platforms to create the awareness. Number one, we have strong tie-ups over the last 1.5 years. More than 100 plus institutes in India have tied up with us, and we do calendar specific webinars with them. I think webinar has become a staple food. So, for more or less everybody, but but that's the word, right? Seminar in web is a webinar. So we do webinar, calendar specific in terms of every month we do webinars, which is free of cost, which we call it knowledge sharing session. But these are very, customized in terms of specific to the job title, specific to the degree program that we are talking, and we don't do it beyond 20 minutes because effectively the students don't listen beyond 20 minutes if they have to grasp anything fundamentally. So that's one way, tying up with the colleges. The second is we do 15 minutes of every weekend skill pe charcha, as Modi ji do man ki baat and something like that. We kind of try to emulate that as a skill pe charcha. Every weekend 9 o'clock on our YouTube channel, we do skill pe charcha with different topics. Season 1 was what after college hashtag. Currently we are doing hashtag career options. And the kind of mentor network that we have created, more than 250 plus mentor network. And I do skill pe charcha with them. That's a second way of creating that awareness. The third way is we do events. So we have successfully done 3 events in 3 quarters for tier 2, tier 3 segment students, especially where awareness is not there. For example, core engineering, right? When we talk about mechanical and electrical, we hear a lot of hackathons for IT people, but we don't hear much of. We only hear about the automotive sector, but we don't hear anything beyond automotive. But as we all understand, manufacturing beyond automotive is there. So we did events where people came to know about new job titles, new trends, new career, and people participated in big way. That's a third awareness program or third type that we do. And the fourth is through our blogs. So every week we write and publish one blog about the trending topics, trending career. So that's how, these are the 4 ways in which we are creating the awareness of the new age career and subsequently the skill level that is required.
So Shubham, like you said, will है तो skill है, but what do you think कि सिर्फ students में अगर will होगा तो बस है, या फिर students and parents दोनों में will होना चाहिए तभी skill enhance होगा?
It depends upon what category we are catering to. So as Mr. Rohit already said, K-12, up till K-12, parents are involved heavily in taking decisions for their kids. Post that, it's about the awareness that students need to begin. I'll just give you a very small example. You must be knowing about CFA. It's the gold standard of finance. We get a lot of queries from a specific part of India where they say that, sir, we do not know what is a CFA. Please, I mean, we literally don't know the exposure to it, and we don't know what body is the CFA and what's going to help and what is in for future and everything. And do you know which part is this? This is the part which is the most literate part of India. This is Kerala. We were shocked. And CFA is something that is one of the, highest reputed institutes for finance in the world. It's your passport for your job outside. So you can understand that gap of awareness is huge. No matter how many edtechs are coming and how many coaching centers, India's population is 1.5 billion for that matter. And as uh, he has already mentioned, the demography is towards the youngsters and the kids, the demographic dividend, right? So awareness is very vital. See, students are always ready to learn the skills if they are shown the right, exposure to it, and they're shown the right outputs for it. Just forcefully, you can't tell them that you have to do this coding and you're gonna be in a software company and you're gonna do that. It doesn't work like that. So as again, one of the panelists have mentioned, you'll be going for a job, not a career. Because tomorrow, what if something other like a pandemic situation comes in and people lose their job? You should have those skills in your hands so that you can clock your career in the next phase, right? So skills are going to help you long term. Job is going to be there with you for short term. Entrepreneurship is an prime example of that. So usually the students who are connected with us, no matter if that student from 8th standard, 12th standard, or he being an engineer 4th grad or an MBA student, we do this startup competition, B-plan competition every month, once a month. And even a 8th standard student competes with a student from 4th year engineering or MBA for that matter. They create one product of their own, they pitch it. We have a panel, we reward them, we mentor them, we guide them, and they learn marketing, operations, and management even at such small ages. That is how you need to promote. It's not like we are not forcing them to be entrepreneurs, but we are forcing them to think out of the box. Maybe they'll like marketing, maybe they'll like the tech, maybe they'll like manufacturing sector, maybe they'll come across something which is out of the box and actually they'll take it ahead in their life. You never know. And this is especially with the tier 2, tier 3 cities that we are seeing that students, they anticipate it very well. And this is actually the need of the hour.
So, Arjun, due to the pandemic, now what are your views? Which sector will require the maximum skilled force?
Right now, from a tactical standpoint, over the next 18 to 24 months, you're going to see IT services booming. And there's unprecedented demand for a lot of the boom that's happening across the world from a support standpoint, and the services companies becoming more digitized and or digital ready. So the way they are doing product engineering versus just the back-end services has morphed dramatically. So you have a lot more talent that is a lot more valuable, providing more value creation to their end customers in the US, in the UK, in Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. So you're seeing that shift there. And also you have to note that a country like the US, which is going to go gangbusters right now in terms of the amount of money that's being fueled for the economy to kickstart and go into hyperdrive, is going to drive the rest of the globe, specifically India, in terms of technology related jobs. And it's very uncanny about multiple sectors becoming reliant on technology. So I would say sector wise, if you look at automotive, if you look at healthcare, if you look at education, if you look at retail, if you look at banking, which is very used to a lot of application heavy dated systems, have to morph and change, right? And why are they morphing and changing is because customers and consumers of these sectors demand that change. And it's demand and supply economics. The models have to pivot to give more value at the best possible price. So people have to adopt technology across the horizontal for a lot of these verticals to shift on the way they do their business, which means technology jobs are going to become very important. So that's across the board. You can pick sectors and you can talk about the companies that my peers here are running. They will have technology motivated initiatives, not because they want to look cool or because AI is a good word to raise funds, but because it's a necessity to start leveraging technology to build exponential value creation. For that, you also need technologists, both on the hardcore hardware and software side, and application users to come in and start working hot and heavy. And a lot of our jobs are going to morph into technology related jobs across the horizontal. So it's not really about the vertical changing. A company like Apple has said that in the next 20 to 30 years they're going to be a healthcare company, right? A company like Google, I don't know whether they're going to be a media company or pharmaceutical company. You don't know what they're going to morph into. But every other company says, I want to be a technology company. If it's a bank, they say, I want to be a technology company. If it's an education institution, I want to be a technology company. If it's a retail company, I'm first a technology company. What does Amazon say, right? So you think about it, it's very heavily loaded with technology across the horizontal. And that's going to be the shift that a lot of our education efforts are going to rely on to upskill, cross-skill, and reskill some of the folks. And we have a demographic dividend that we've been trying to tap over the last 10 years. Like I said, we got funded in 2013 by the NSDC. We knew these statistics were going to happen. Right now we're on 2021, and I got this information in 2013. What have we really done about it? There are certain things that the private sector has done. There are certain things the government has done. Not enough in reality. If you look at the gross enrollment ratio, has it moved? Have people really started, enrolling into higher education at this point in time? I think there are things that have to be sorted out at the higher education level, at the primary education level for it to move. But having said that, I think market economics will move it faster than we can think of. So we're going to see a lot of the movement in hyperdrive post-pandemic when India starts moving also.
Like Arjun said, Rohit, is your platform witnessing technology-driven students who want to learn the skill, or are you seeing other skills also being like in demand?
That's how we positioned ourselves as a niche, where we prepare students for techno-commercial roles, which means everything is technology-driven. And then you can add marketing to technology, finance to technology, operations to technology, HR to technology. So everything is technology driven. You name a company today, we call it the fintechs, the marktechs, the insurtechs, the logitechs, the foodtechs, the edtechs of the world, right? So eventually it's all about technology driven stuff. As far as your question is concerned, yes, we do see heavy traffic. We fundamentally run 3 courses, which is our niche. We have one is on the so we are India's first technology driven sales course, B2B and D2C. So we talk of a lot of B2C, which is like the Unilevers and the ITCs. I think that's going out. Means it's there, but the new age trend is the B2B and D2C, right? So we have emulated the concept of FlopJ, which is a unicorn in US. That is into technology sales. So we have brought up the similar program, tech sales. We call it B2B/D2C. The second program is our fintech program. We have that program combines financial knowledge along with data analytics in one program, and it prepares students from investment analysts to credit analysts to market analysts. So one program preparing for 5 job titles. It's the first program which is a combination of finance and technology together. And finally, we have a program which is on the analytics side, which is especially made for engineers as well as for non-engineers. And it is made with analytics plus data visualization together. So these are our 3 fundamental tech-driven courses. And yes, we do see a lot of excitement in the students. And the best part is we don't charge the students. We only charge once they get the jobs, which is a typical ISM model. And that's why the excitement level are next to the next level also. So that's why, Arjun, while I'm hearing you, there is a synergy where we can always connect in terms of, because you become part of the employee side and we are where we are preparing students for the employee in a way. But I can understand the technology and the hyper growth that you're talking about. And yeah, so yes, Aishwarya, that's what we do. And yes, we do see a lot of, excitement among the kids because they have never realized that sales kabhi technology ke through bhi ho sakta hai ki nahi, if I have to say that way. BCom wala kabhi analytics seekh sakta hai ki nahi. Now that's what we specialize in. How can we bring a technology knowledge to a non-techie person in a simple language? That's what we specialize in.
So Shubham, what are your views upon vocational courses, which used to be, very popular earlier, but right now we are not into vocational courses as such. So being an edutech platform, education ke saath, do you think vocational courses also should be merged?
Merged in a way, I don't see it as a compulsion because many people do not, they're not inclined towards vocational courses, right? Some students are inclined towards vocational courses, but as a matter of fact, if you would have seen the national education policy, the government has tried to clock from fifth to 10th standard. I guess they have made it compulsory that coding and your vocational courses are going to be an option in students' curriculum. And apart from that, they have also made it a point that let's suppose if you're sitting for an entrance, if you sit for JEE this around about this time, you have to give maths, physics, and chemistry. It's general knowledge. Now, what has government come up with is government is saying that let's suppose a kid is not strong in physics, let him given an option of just appearing for maths and chemistry. If he's not good in biology, so let him give an option of sitting for, let's say, just physics and maths for his further entrances, whatever his aim are. So these are some drastic changes that are coming in. And why are these changes coming? Because we don't want students to just go with a certain set of flow. This is preset. We are stepping out of the, stereotype that was set. Ki you have to be a pro in maths, physics, and chemistry. I mean, come on, you can't be a pro at everything when I'm not a pro at everything. I might be weak in maths, or I might be a pro in chemistry. I don't have interest in physics, whatever it is. There are so many students, miss out on good colleges. And second thing that I really want to communicate is that IIT IIMs are not the only thing in the country. If you see the entrepreneurs of the country, they're not just from IIT IIMs, and they are from diverse college backgrounds. But the issue with the education system in the universities and the other institutions is that they are just following a assignment and a set curriculum that has been followed since years. They're not trying to change themselves. It's just that you should get out of that system. You should give more practical knowledge and more exposure to the student. That will push the student to think more on the subject that is learning, and he's learning because he has taken admission and he's interested in it. We are not forcing that student, and he'll be curious. If he is curious, he'll come up with a lot of better things for his career prospects and otherwise as well. Otherwise, it's going to be really monotonous. It's just one batch coming in, that batch going out, finding jobs, just getting settled. It's going to go in that way.
Thank you, gentlemen, to give us more knowledge about skilling and what it is all about. And even I got to know that awareness about skilling is much more important right now at this stage. And I would wish all of you that you keep on skilling the youth of our country and continue what you're doing, because you're doing a great job for the youth, basically for all of us. So thank you so much.